Sorry that I'm not there today, guys, but we're going to work on topic 5 after your quiz. So it's nothing new. We're just going to combine two things that we've already learned into one. So you can factor using synthetic division. So a binomial is a factor if the remainder is 0 when dividing. If you get a remainder other than 0, then it is not a factor. So in question 1, they want to know, is the first expression a factor of the second expression? And if it's not a factor, then what is the remainder? So remember, we can use synthetic division if my coefficient of x is 1. So I can divide by 2. And all my exponents are represented, so I just list out my coefficients. We're just doing synthetic division, which is what we did last topic, and it was just on your quiz. So I'm just going through doing the synthetic division, and we end up with a remainder of 0. So x minus 2 is a factor since my remainder is 0, or since the remainder is 0. So for problem 2, is the first expression a factor of the second? Why or why not? In other words, how do you know if it is or isn't? So again, I can use synthetic division because I don't have a coefficient in front of my x. All my exponents are represented, so I just write those out. And then I'm going to go through the synthetic division process. And I get another remainder of 0. So yes, it is, because the remainder is 0. So I'm going to do the same thing for number 3. Except I'm missing an x squared, so I'm going to put a 0 in between the 5 and negative 8. And then I'm going to go through and do my synthetic division. And I just did my calculations off to the side. So in this case, my remainder is negative 147. So no, it's not, because the remainder is negative 147 and not 0. So is x plus 1 a factor of the following polynomial? If no, give the remainder. So you can pause the video, you can work through this one, or you can play it. It would be better if you work through it. I'm just going to keep working. So this one is no, because the remainder is 36. Or you could just put no, the remainder is 36. Okay, so now they want us to factor the polynomial completely. So this is where we're going to combine the synthetic division and the factoring that we've already done and been doing. So first, I'm going to divide synthetically by 2. And all of my exponents are represented. So I'm just going to divide using synthetic division. And if they tell you that they have given you a factor, your remainder should always be 0. Now I'm going to write my answer. So I have x squared plus 5x plus 4. Now I'm going to factor this trinomial. So it's going to be a plus plus because my c is positive. So then I look at my b and it's positive. And the two factors that will multiply to give me 4 and add to give me 5 are 4 and 1. What you don't need to forget, don't forget your x minus 2 from the beginning. You just need to bring it down out in front. And that's all there is to it. So we're going to do the same thing with this one over here. We're going to divide by -2. All my exponents are represented. So I'm going to use synthetic division because my coefficient is still 1. I get a remainder of 0, which we should get because they told me it's a factor. Now I write my answer. So 3x squared minus 10x plus 3. Now, since my coefficient is not 1, I need to do the AC method. So I multiply A and C, and I get 9x squared. And those need to combine to give me negative 10x. So what two factors that would give me a positive 9x squared would combine to give me negative 10x? That would be negative 9x and negative 1x, or negative x, however you want to write it. So my 3x squared goes in front. Then I use negative 9x and negative 1x to create my negative 10x. And then I bring down my plus 3. So now I use grouping. And I'm going to group these two together and these last two together. In my first set, I can bring out a 3x, and I have x minus 3. In my last set, I can bring out a -1, and it leaves me with x minus 3. So at my x minus 3 repeats, that gets factored out. I'm left with 3x minus 1. So x minus 3 times 3x minus 1 gives me the factors of 3x squared minus 10x plus 3. But remember, I've got to bring down what I divided by originally and put it out in front. It could go at the end. It doesn't matter. You just have to include it. So those are the factors of the polynomial 3x cubed minus 4x squared minus 17x plus 6. So here we get that. So sometimes you have to use long division when you have a coefficient instead of 1 in front of the x. So we're going to do long division. All my exponents are represented, so I can just copy my polynomial that's on top. So 3x goes into 3x cubed x squared times. And then I'm subtracting that stuff. So these cancel. X squared minus a negative becomes plus. So I get 3x squared. And then I'm going to bring down my plus x. 3x goes into 3x squared x times. So my 3x squareds cancel out. X minus a negative becomes plus, so 3x minus 2. So 3x goes into 3x one time. So I get 3x minus 2. And when I subtract all of that, everything cancels. So one factor is 3x minus 2. The other factor is x squared plus x plus 1. I cannot break this one down anymore because it would be a plus plus, and if I add two ones together, it'll give me a 2 for my middle term. So that's as far as I can go with it. So there's my answer. All right, so we're going to do these last two, and then you'll work on page 21 for your homework. And I'll write that here in a second. So I'm going to divide by -3 because there's no coefficient of x, so I can do that. Everything is represented. I do my synthetic division. I get a remainder of 0. Then I have x squared minus 6x plus 5. And I need to factor that. So x minus 5, x minus 1, those multiply to give me my positive 5, and they combine to give me my negative 6. And then I can put the x plus 3 or in the front or behind, either way. So the next one, you have to use long division since you have a 2 in front of the x. All my exponents are represented. So I'll multiply 2x by 9x squared to get 18x cubed. I'm subtracting what I get when I multiply 9x squared by both terms on the outside. These cancel. These cancel. So now I'm going to bring down both of the terms that I have. So 2x goes into negative 2x, negative 1 times. I subtract that. Everything ends up canceling. So 2x plus 1 is a factor. And 9x squared minus 1 is a factor. But this I can break down, since it's a difference of squares, to 3x minus 1 and 3x plus 1. So that's how you do topic 5. So your homework is page 21. I think there's like 8 questions, so you should be able to finish pretty quickly. And I will see you guys on Wednesday. Have a good day.